Well, welcome back, everybody. I am so excited to have Sherry Price Clark. All right, so let's just start with this. Leaving Your Life Imprint is a book that Sherry helped me write, and she is an amazing person because she takes your story and actually makes it make sense. Um, we try and write it ourselves, you've never written before. I would encourage you to get with somebody like Miss Sherry Price Clark, and make sure and get with her so she can help you make sense of your book. And uh, nobody likes to read something that's disheveled and doesn't make sense, from beginning and to end. And she's the kind of person that can help you do that. So welcome, Sherry. We're glad you're back, and I'd like to just start out and saying one of the things that Sherry kind of helped me think of is to not don't think about cramming too much in, but make each chapter make sense, and make sure that from beginning to end of that chapter you're making your point within that chapter. Because you can if you go all over the place, people can't follow that, and so keep your train of thought, keep the main thing, your subject matter about for my case, it was legacy, a story about legacy. So here's my only advertising part. Leaving Your Life Imprint is that kind of a book that she and I have helped put together, and we put some questions together, and with some help of some other folks that helped us. Um, but it's the reason why this is it's the subtitle basically is this: leaving something that will live beyond your lifetime. I think it's important that when you put something pen to paper, you want it to be a story that your family, your kids, your grandkids, and those that love you will want. And so this book teaches you how to do it, leaving your life imprint. And just go to kennymock.org/show. And that's our way of helping you kind of get to the book. And you can just give $10 and it'll be on the way to you. Okay. You just fill something out. It's all tax deductible. If you want to give $100, $200, all the money goes to help our veterans, our people that are in our homes right now that we service every day, like Thanksgiving. We don't want people to be alone, and so 24/7 our staff goes out and helps take care of these folks. And then there's the hiking cup if you want to add a little bit, but we'll send it all on our dime if you donate, because we're really just using all the funds to help these great people that have great stories themselves. Some World War II people we had who recently died off, we had their stories, and we love to hear their stories. And even if they tell them 4 or 5 times, Sherry, we still want to hear it, because it's so rich in our own heritages to have veterans that share their story. So, Sherry, one of the things that I wanted you to help me with is to think about, in regards to, when you're telling a story, the importance of having, maybe like in my case, I wanted my kids to know how much they meant to me in my story. So I wrote to each one of them. If you recall, I love that you again kept me focused in on what am I writing, what is my purpose, and for me, one of the things that I wanted to do in writing this book, it started making me realize the importance of spending time with my kids on something special that they wanted to do with me. Sometimes we think I want to do something with my kid, and I'm gonna think about what they want. I think I know what they want to do, but it's great to ask them, what would you want to me? And for me, my 3 kids, my oldest son was Landon. We went away to a great Robert Trent Jones golf course and spent 3 days there with friends that he wanted to be a part of it too. But it was a really special time between me and my son Landon. Golfing is one of the things we love to do. And then my middle daughter, she just, she wanted to spend time with her dad. I thought she wanted to go away and do something, but no, she couldn't do that because she had kids. And she said, "Dad, I can't be away from my kids, but how about if I just spend the afternoon with you over a really nice lunch?" And we did. We spent time. We laughed. We cried. We just had just a dad and daughter moment. And I didn't realize how important that was, but she was sharing just how special it was to be a mom, but also the just the challenges of being a mom, the challenges of being a wife and mom and a teacher. And I just, well, we laughed, we cried together, we just had a great time. And that was a story that will keep beyond my lifetime. And then, of course, my youngest one, she's the wild one. She's she's like me. She likes to do some risk taking things. So we did zip lining. I've never been zip lining before, so we went on these huge mountains in Gatlinburg, and it was a blast. I mean, going down, 70, 70 miles an hour, I think was one of them, down this one huge mountain, and that was just the coolest thing. I thought, it doesn't get any better than this, to hear her yelling and me yelling going down the huge mountains. So yeah, and then she was going to get married the following year, and so we got to spend the night, at a hotel, and just reflected on the power of our relationship, how crazy we are, and just how much fun we have, and that I was looking so forward to her getting married. So those are the kind of things that, for me, just kind of turned me on about why this book is so important. Why don't we take time to share really passionate stories about what we spend with our kids? I know you have children. I think you understand. Maybe you can reflect about the importance of what we leave to our kids. What do you want to leave with your kids?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me back, Kenny. I appreciate being back on your show. You're such a good friend. It's always a pleasure to talk with you. Listening to you, what you did with your children, what you are doing, you're creating memories too. It went beyond that. It was like memories they will never, ever forget. So, they're looking at it, as a memory. Maybe they don't realize it, but that's something that's in their head. And what you did with the book, and I'm sure you feel the same way, like, I wish one of my ancestors had written a book,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and told me what was going on and where I came from, or at least part of that side of the family. And that would have been like, wow, I would have loved it. So I think writing your story, um, good, bad, or indifferent, is something. First of all, I think it's cleansing. I think it helps, if you've got hurts, and you talked about that in your book. You talked
Mm-hmm.
about the chair, you writing letters, forgiveness. If you've got an angst against something, or there's something in your life, it helps. And I hear that from so many people. I get people come to me, authors who are like, I'm going to write a business book. And then we turn out writing their story. It turns out, because that's what they're most passionate about. The
Yeah.
business, yes, they love their business, but to me, the story comes first. The story, tell your readers who you are, tell your readers where you came from, tell your readers how you got to be where you're at. You may be a CEO of a big organization, or a doctor, but you started, you know, uh, with a drug addicted mother, or you started,
Mm-hmm.
with your parent, it was your dad who raised you, and you were dirt poor, and this is how you made it. Because people will be like, oh my gosh, that's me, and if they can do it, I can do it. So the inspiration's there, but your kids, I think, need to know. And we talked earlier about the sacrifice, and they need to understand the sacrifice that was made, not just with their parents, like you with your kids and me and my kids, but their parents' parents, and onward and
Mm-hmm.
upward. And to appreciate that, I read something in the other day on somewhere, maybe Facebook, and it says you'll never be able to appreciate betrayal until you appreciate loyalty. And I thought that was pretty profound.
Oh yeah.
But it's like, you can appreciate, you were talking about the hard times, what you have, until you've gone through that hard time, and them seeing what their parents are really made of. Like, wow, dad did that. Wow, dad faced that. and he got through it. And I remember the part in your book when you talked about your, Life Care Foundations had lost a big contract and you guys were cutting back.
Hmm.
And a really good friend of yours, the dog had died, and his children were grieving, and he wanted a book from you. And you could just find one book, and it had already been marked in by a another kid from that came to the agency for help, and you just didn't have a heart to tell them, and you were using whiteout to get rid of those marks. I mean, to me, it was like, wow, that was a pretty profound story and what
Hmm.
you went through, but he saw through it. And next thing you know,
That
you
was,
get a box full of those books from him.
and the great part about that story was Dave Ramsey was that individual,
Yes,
national syndicated radio host that
yes,
bought me so many of those books, to help other parents and kids and deal with loss from their dog or
yeah.
their mother or their dad, and what a blessing that was that God saw the need and He took care of it, and they graciously helped. I think Sherry, the other thing is, my wife and I we went to Italy 35th wedding anniversary, and it was so cool to go and experience that together. She wasn't supposed to be an afterthought in the book at all, but we had somehow missed, not somehow the first go round. You did the second edition for us. We caught wind of that, and that was so special because I remember what a great time to reflect with my wife about life after 35 years, and what a great place to celebrate it. No greater place than walking in Rome, and um, the different places in Italy that we got a chance to go to and experience life. Marriage is challenging, but it should also be celebrated. And that was our time to celebrate our commitment and our love for one another. And so I want to thank you for helping remember that. And then, of course, my parents was in the book. I included them, and they both have passed away in the last 16, 18 months.
Yeah, I'm so sorry to hear
Both of my
that.
parents. And but being able to keep their memory alive, I'm thinking about that. My kids they didn't. I mean, they knew them as grandparents, but they didn't know them as parents as I did, and the challenges to starting their own business and all that meant a lot to me because I thought when I started my own company, I thought, well, Dad's done it, my mom's done it. I think we can do this, and just realizing all that my mom praying for me when I had asthma. I had really bad
Yeah,
asthma, and for her to lift me up, to heaven and have the whole church praying for me and
that was
realizing that
miraculous.
realizing that my mom and dad probably didn't have the means to go to a huge great doctor, but they knew where to go to when doctors can't help and nobody else can help, and that's to go to prayer. So all these things are really vital to my life, and you helped me realize the importance of these stories. You were really helping me not only with my family, my friends, but how I even picked employees. You helped me. You helped me ask me questions about you know what do you see in hiring someone, and that you gave me that opportunity to think through. Well, yes, not all of them were the most qualified, but we found out they were the most ability wise.
Yeah,
They were the right ones that God wanted to grow the company. They were faithful. They
yeah,
were stubbornly faithful. They walked through the real challenging times of not having all the finances that we wanted, but they were the ones that sacrificed along with me, and I'll never forget them. I've listed them in the book. So, and as we're talking about this, obviously a lot of when you stop and think about people that maybe they're not going to write a book, maybe they're going to put in a dictaphone, maybe they're going to do it some other way. But why is it important from your perspective as a writer? Why do people minimize their story? I don't understand.
I really don't understand why. I guess they've lived it, and so they've become kind of numb to it, and to them, it's the status quo. But to you and me, It's like, well, hold on, you're 25 years old and you have a successful business at 25, you're an entrepreneur. Tell me more, because there's 45-year-olds out there who would love to know how a 25-year did it. And, you know,
Yeah,
to you it's minute, but to everyone else it's like, wow, wow. So share. And, people just, your story teaches, you and I've talked about storytelling. And to me, it's just like, it is the most powerful form of communication. You sit there, you can listen to the stats all day long. When you walk out the door, you may remember a little bit, but you tell it in a story. You'll go out there, man, you'll be able to nail those stats down. Yeah, it was 1933 when that happened, because there'll be an association there. And so, when something resonates, then people have a tendency to remember. And so that's why, telling a life through a story, through a journey, is it's so vital, because that's where it's going to resonate. And I keep saying the word resonate because that's what stories do, and that's what people are going to remember. And you're talking about your parents passing. Well, they had great grandkids, and I know they're still young, so they didn't really get a chance to know their great grandparents as everyone would have loved, as they would have loved to have known them.
hmm,
But now they have a book through your book that helps not just introduce because they met them, but to grow them to, like, oh, wow, this is the kind of person they were. And it was written in real time, pretty much, when they were still alive. And so through you, they've left a legacy
hmm,
through you and your
yeah.
book.
And I think that was the amazing part about being in Italy. We were hearing stories, you know, 35 after Christ AD, or 100 AD, and 1000 AD, and I'm thinking these people cherish their history, and I think as Americans we need to do a little better job of understanding what this country was founded on, especially now, right? And the
Absolutely.
and the importance of law and the importance of a constitution,
Yeah.
all those things. Um, I sense that we've kind of taken those things for granted, and hopefully people will come from that perspective too and realize, hey, these are the kind of stories that made America great. Why don't I? And so I want to encourage, as you, everybody who's listening to this, don't wait.
No.
Because waiting is throwing the dice. Because that too often people wait to the end and then they don't have the energy or the ability to share their story.
Yeah, my mother was, she was a prime example. I talk about, as a child growing up into my adult years, she kept saying, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write a book. But life took over. Her kids grew up. I mean, things happen in life, and then she had grandkids, and, she was running a business, and she died. She
Hmm.
died. She died before she had an opportunity to write that story. She was 65, a young 65. And I will never, and the world will never have that opportunity to read the words she was going to leave behind. And so my saying is, there's a lot of books in those graveyards. A lot of books are in
Oh
graveyards.
yeah, that's
And
a
don't
great
let
point.
yours be one of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think the other part, there's a time and a purpose, under heaven, right? And
Yeah.
I love that quote about there's a time to live, a time to die. But what a great tragedy if we wait to the end of life and we don't see the value of a God given story. Because if you've accepted, we're Christians. If you've accepted Jesus in your life, what a great story to even tell about your own testimony about how you came to Christ. You came you
Absolutely.
came to the opportunity of moving from maybe a very dark place to a very brilliant light. But don't stop maybe that's in a women's group where you're just going to jot down your notes of your life, or that maybe that's an imprinted moment for you, and that's all you want. That's fine, but remember, there are people that want your friends, your family, your grandchildren, your cousins, that's what I was fortunate to be able to get letters from all of them and say thank you for, you know, thank you for keeping the story for us. And when I say keeping, I didn't even know it, so that it was a deep dive of finding out all the people that have had made huge imprints in my own life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, and then meeting with some great authors like Ken Abraham. He's taught me the importance of, like he wrote a book called when his mom was going through Alzheimer's, and it would really minister to me. This is a kind of a cool thing, is when your friends minister to you and you don't, in a different way, because my mom went through um, a very serious dementia issue, and his mom had been through the same thing, and yet, I'm looking at this book, when your parent becomes your child. That he wrote that because basically that's what happens when your parents start. We end up being the parent in some ways, because we want to make sure they get the right care. You know, so I say all that to say that I'm really at a great point in life that I don't have to regret. If something would happen to me, not like when I had COVID a few years back. I didn't know if I'd make it. Being in the hospital for a week, and um, I think there was a peace that came over me at one night, realizing I had my story. I had, wasn't I wasn't thinking at that time. I promise you, you're not thinking about land or money. Um, you're not thinking about that. You got Martians coming in with these big masks on, and you can't even call your family, and you're
That's
just.
right.
And that moment was a breaking moment. Just say, "Wow, thank you, God," and giving up, realizing I may not make it this particular night, but I'm going to pray for these people. That's what I've been taught to do down this hallway that are passing away. And you go through moments like that, and you realize, wow, I'm not. There's not a moon that shines or a sunrise that goes up and down that I don't am appreciative of, because of what I've been through. And so I'm sure there's a multitude of nine, during that whole period of time of COVID, where it seemed like a 9/11 to their life, where they couldn't see their loved ones and they were dying in
Yeah.
hospitals, and just a horrible time that we went through in our country. But I'm sure there's stories that still need to be told, right?
There are a lot of stories. Your story doesn't end. Um, it goes on and on. Um, you'll see books that people wrote their autobiography, and then they'll come and like, wow, this is since then. And I'm like, so you're writing a memoir. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, autobiography starts at your birth and it goes until like the time that the book ends. Whereas a memoir is a book that takes either a specific incident that you write about that you went through or a specific time period. So, people will come and they'll do their autobiography and then they go forth and do their memoir. And that's pretty much what's happened since then. But leaving those stories and leaving the accuracy of those stories, as somebody who's a ghostwriter and an editor, my job is to make sure everything's accurate. And,
Yeah.
that it's not just something I assume. And the author, of course, wants it accurate. And so, we go back and forth till we can nail down that accuracy and the reader knows it, for sure. And uh, sometimes things get out there to public, and you want to make sure that when it does get out there, and that's why you're writing, you hope to goodness it gets out there, that
Mm-hmm.
people are reading the right story and the true story. So, you know, the what people go through. You wrote that book prior to going through COVID.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of your journey. And so there's been a lot that's happened to Kenny Mauck since the end of Leaving Your Life Imprint, you know. So your
Tell
story
tell
continues.
me tell me about what you want to leave, Sherry. I want to hear what you think. Sherry Price Clark, what do you want your life story to be for? If you could say maybe there's one or two or three things that you want your kids or your family, your friends, those that love you, what do you want? Uh, what kind of imprint do you want them to remember about your life?
That they were loved deeply and intensely, and that, you know, I'm leaving behind, um, if I, leave behind and I still have my company, I'm leaving behind a company. I'm that, and I hope that through my life they've learned lessons like what not to do, but definitely what to do, and the ethics of hard work. And
Mm-hmm.
and the ethics of hard work with integrity is what gets you, you know that's your ticket. But in everything, in everything, always look up and listen to his words and learn to through me and my legacy. I taught them how to listen to him, because he will guide you every step of the way.
I remember you were going through some health issues, and your integrity and everything got you know challenged just because you are an integral person, but you know you had to make some very tough choices and decisions in your life, and um, we don't have to get into all of it, but I will say it spoke volumes to me what you went through and what you walked through, and I do know God was there with you through it all. From what,
He always has my back. I come from a law enforcement background, and I'll say, Jesus, I know you got my six. He always has my back. And I go through every day knowing that I can mess up, I can do crazy things, that I know he looks down and says, okay, Sherry, let's try this again. you know, but regardless, and he's got a good sense of humor. He does. He always has my back.
hmm
I just don't even know how going through life and not having that comfort and knowledge instilled in you works. But
hmm
that helps you walk through life in confidence,
yeah,
because you've got that bigger power, which is Jesus, that's right behind you.
I think that that kind of concludes this part of of our talk. But at the end of the book, I thought it was really important that I wanted people to know the story behind the story is that we need Jesus.
Yeah.
We need the Lord to realize, and I wanted the last thing to be, don't let this moment go in that last chapter. And I wanted to walk somebody through the sinner's prayer so they have an opportunity to make the biggest impression of their life, if nothing more than to accept Christ in their life and realize that He has eternity in mind for us, not just this temporal world that we live in.
True. He doesn't tell us we won't go through it and won't go through trials. He just said he'll be there with us.
Yeah, that's right.
And
That's the cool
you got to
part.
look at the alternative. I walk through it with him. I walk through it without him. Hard decision, right?
hmm
So he's there, and you've got the power of all the powers, King of Kings, Lord of Lords.
hmm
If God be for you, who can be against you, right?
Yeah, and God brings people. Once you do join the family, He surrounds you with good people.
Yeah.
If you'll listen and incline your ear about, maybe it's a sister in the Lord, maybe it's a small group, maybe it's a pastor that speaks to someone's life or a youth leader. For me, I've got a really cool experience with Booker Fritz. He is our producer here, and to run into him, to know how we got to know each other. His dad helped my dad, who couldn't really. He wanted to get a bird feeder and feed his. He loved the birds to come in, and his neighbor was Booker's dad, who came and helped my dad build birdhouse, and I just think it's cool how God uses things. And now Booker and I are doing some pretty cool things together. But don't be surprised when God surprises you with somebody that's a gem in your life, and you're walking through that too. You know, when it's friends or somebody
That's so
special in
true.
your life, and it
Sometimes,
will never
yeah,
happen. It would never happen had God not been a part of it, and you know that, and I know that. It just those things don't just happen.
yeah, that's so true. That's so true. God's a very strategic, multitasking God.
He is. He is.
Yeah.
Well, this is I knew it'd be rich, and we even got through all the technical difficulties between the first and second here. But God knows he knows what's the right moment and the right time for people to. So I hope those that are listening, you'll take advantage of this. These are great Christmas presents. Give something that matters, right? Do something that matters, and it's not about me. It's about we. I don't know how many people's book. It was in the hundreds of people that I just said send a donation, and I got to write them about their book, and then I told them don't minimize your story,
No,
Sherry. Don't
gosh,
minimize your.
no.
Take this book and start. I don't care. It doesn't have to be another book, but do something that will leave an impression, pictures of what made your life significant.
Yeah.
And I can't think of anything more important right now. If you want to give a gift, not just because I wrote the book, but get something that'll get you inspired, to get you encouraged. Like I said, if you're a video person, video it. What you want to tell your kids and your grandkids, but leave something of yourself and realize that God made you. And I always do this at the end of my talks. I said, take that look at that imprinted finger. There is no imprint that is the same. And
No,
that's pretty cool, is it not?
it is.
Of everything that we try and facsimile, you cannot facsimile something that God made original. And that's why I tell people, I don't care what people think. Share your story, whatever, however you want
Yeah.
to, but do it. And I
It's
hope this book
it's
inspires you.
as unique and as powerful as those fingerprints and as your DNA. And don't ever minimize it. You have something unique. Nobody's ever walked in your shoes the same way you have, and at the same time. Keep that in mind.
Well, God bless you, my dear sister. Thank you for your
God bless you,
time.
my friend.
And I'm so excited for what the future continues to
Yeah.
have for you and for your. I'm telling you, people, if you want a good person that'll help you tell your story, not anybody better than Sherry Price
Oh,
Clark.
thank you. Thank
All
you.
right, thanks, Sherry. Appreciate it.
You too. Thanks. Bye.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching the show. If you guys have any questions or if you would like to donate and receive the book, please head on over to kennymuck.org/show. Here you can ask us any questions that you might have as well as make a donation. Thank you so much for watching.